All right, guys. So the latest Toka tool, I didn't want to leave it on the last part. I figured we could have this a little fresh in our mind. So first thing, find the distance between each pair of points. And on the test, you guys are not gonna see this word through. I printed on the review. So I want a distance between these 2 points. The way we do this, we're gonna start it the way we would start a slope. I remember for slope, you guys had the formula y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. As back in algebra 1, that was your formula for slope, right, Lazy? Is that was the formula? Okay, so we know that was it. I said I'm gonna start it the same way. I'm just gonna start it the same way. So let me write 4 minus a negative 5 over negative 1 minus 4. Right? This is y2, this is y1, so that's why I wrote 4 minus a negative 5. And then obviously this is x2 and this is x1. Now, I know minus a negative, that's the same thing as a plus sign. So on the top I will have a 9, at the bottom I will have a negative 5. And I know for slope, you simplify your fraction if you can. But that was algebra 1, that was for slope. Now that I have these two values, do not simplify your fraction. Slope. Yes, it, yes, it. Well, it was my another accent that I came out with for a minute. But for slope, okay, for slope, all right, for slope, you guys will simplify the fraction. As an example, if you guys had 6 over 4, I know the slope is 3 over 2, right? You simplify the fraction. But for distance, do not simplify the fraction. Like I said, we're not quite done yet. But like I said, do not simplify the fraction. I'm just going to start with the square root. And I'm going to do, inside, I'm going to do 9 squared plus 5 squared. You see where I got my 9 and my 5. So 9 squared plus 5 squared. I know 5 was negative. I wrote it as a positive because when you square a number, it becomes positive already. So might as well just deal with positive values. So I have the square root of 81 plus 25, which is the square root of 106. Simplify your square root if possible. Right? 106, I'm thinking of 2 times 53. Nothing comes out, so it's just one, the square root of 106. You had a question, Ceci? That's what we have to do, yes. This was actually like towards the end of semester 1, but we needed it on the final, so I brought this from semester 1. But wow. All right, let's go back to question number, or let's take a look at number 2. I'm going to start it, once again, I'm going to start it as if I was doing a slope. So I'm going to do 5 minus 0 over negative 3 minus 2.
Is it always gonna be minus?
There's always a minus. Remember, the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That's how we find the slope. That was the formula that you guys got it back in algebra 1. Right, so I know for the slope, I will have 5 over negative 5. And I know once again for the slope, you simplify the fractions. Do not simplify the numbers. The slope, leave the numbers as 5 and 5. Do not simplify your numbers. For the square root, I'm going to have 5 squared plus 5 squared. Like I said, do not simplify the fraction. But a negative squared will be positive. So I'm going to have 25 plus 25, which is the square root of 50. That can be simplified. You should have 5 radical 2 at the end. Remember when you simplify 25 times 2, 5 times 5, groups go out, singles stay in. So 5 radical 2. Once again, start it as if you were going to work the slope. But do not simplify the fraction. All right, so there's 8 questions on the review. There's 2 of these on the final. Any questions on the first 8 problems? All right, now looking at question number 9, identify the center and radius of each circle. The center, it was going to be -15, +2. Remember, we just changed the sign of the x and the y value. So -15, +2. That's the center. Now the radius is going to be the square root of 5. You guys see where I get the 5 from?
Yeah.
I know when we were doing this, the radius was giving you guys a hard time. Because many of you will just divide it by 2. I don't know why, but many of you divide it by 2, but it's not divided by 2. It's radical of that number. Square root of. See, some of you guys got lucky if the number was 4. You guys divided by 2 by luck. You guys will get it. But it was just coincidence. Once again, get the radical of that. If you can simplify it, obviously simplify it. In this case, we cannot. What I mean with it is like, for example, I had the square root of 9. I will call it 3. Right? If I had the square root of 9, I will call it 3. Because I could simplify it. But square root of 5, we cannot. So once again, I'm asking you guys for the center and the radius. On the final, like that's all we do. On the final, since I want to separate it, I want to see whether you guys remember the center or the radius. I'm going to give you guys 2 questions only where I'm only asking for the center. So I will be like, what's the center of this circle? Just the center. 2 of those. But then there's 2 questions where I'm asking you guys identify the radius. So just the radius. So there's 2 questions only the center, 2 questions only the radius. I figured for the review we could do both. So any questions up until 16? Number 8? All right, let's go back to 8. So I'm going to start as if I was finding the slope. So I have 5 minus 3 over 2 minus a -4. So I have 2 over 6. And then do not simplify the fraction. So I'm just going to come in and I'm going to use 2 squared plus 6 squared. And so do not simplify your fractions. So I have 4 plus 36, which is the square root of 40. And this should simplify to 2 radical 10. You guys should remember how to simplify. Do not simplify the fraction. We started as if we were doing this slope just to get those numbers, but do not simplify it. For 12, okay. So x squared, kind of like if I'm looking at it as x minus 0 squared. Right, x minus 0 is x. So yeah, the center will be 0, positive 14. The radius will be 3. Because square root of 9, you can simplify that. Okay. Any other questions up until 16? Then your favorite section, starting at 17. Whenever I have an equation where one letter is by itself, in this case y, when one letter is by itself, I'm going to replace all of these for y on the other equation. So let me rewrite the first equation, but instead of y, I'm going to write x minus 5. So I have 3x plus 3 inside parentheses x minus 5 equals -21. Once again, I wanted to rewrite everything in terms of one letter. Get rid of parentheses, multiply the 3 to the inside. So we have 3x plus 3x minus 15 equals -21. Letters on one side, numbers on the other, so my -15, let me move it as a positive 15. on the other side. Now simplify your sides. 3x plus 3x, that's 6x. Negative 21, positive 15, that's negative 6. Divide by the number in front of the letter, x equals negative 1. That's half of our answer. The other half, plug in negative 1 for x in this equation. So instead of x, let me write negative 1 to solve for y. So I'm going to have y equals negative 1 minus 5. That means that y equals negative 6. So my answer should be negative 1, negative 6. The order that I write my numbers is in alphabetic order. So x first, y second. Let me do one of these again. Let's take a look at number 18. I see one equation where one letter is by itself. So instead of y, I'm going to write negative 5x minus 22 in the other equation. So I have 2x minus 2 inside parentheses, negative 5x minus 22 is equal to 8. Once again, I replace y with negative 5x minus 22. Get rid of parentheses, multiply the negative 2 to the inside. So we have 2x plus 10x plus 44 is equal to 8. Letters on one side, numbers on the other, so the plus 44, let me move this as a minus 44. So on the left, 12x. On the right, 8 and a negative 44, that's negative 36. Divide by 12. So x equals negative 3. So again, that's only half of the answer. For the other half, I'm going to say y equals, see how I have negative 5 times x? And I know negative 3 is x. So negative 5 times x, I'm going to call that 15 minus 22. So y equals negative 7. My answer should be negative 3, negative 7. So first, I have only for substitution where one letter is by itself, and I have those up until number 24. Any questions up until 24? Now for 25, I have x and y's both on the left. So my plan is I'm going to use elimination. If I combine my like terms, I want one of my letters to cancel out. I notice that neither of them cancel out. So if I want to cancel the x's, 9 and 6, I can make both of them 18. If I multiply the top by 2, multiply the bottom by 3. I can make both of them 18. Make sure one of them is positive, the other is negative. If I want to cancel the y's, 6 and 12, I can make both of them 12. Multiply the top by 2. So that's what I'm going to do. What is it? Substitution. I mean elimination. So let me multiply the top by 2 because I want the y to become 12. So if I multiply everything by 2, I'm going to have negative 18x plus 12y is equal to 54. So in fact, I'm only going to deal with the bottom 2. I know the y's cancel out. So now if I combine the x's, negative 6, negative 18, that's negative 24x. Once again, the y's cancel out. Negative 30, positive 54, that's positive 24. I think we can agree that x equals negative 1. Now for the y value, plug that x value into any of the equations. I like to look for the numbers that are smaller. I like to deal with smaller numbers. So I'm going to deal with the first equation. Negative 9 times x. I know the value of x. So negative 9 times x, I'm going to call that positive 9. plus 6y equals 27. The 9, let me move it to the other side as a minus 9.
So wouldn't the 6y be negative 6?
No, because I don't know the value y, so I just leave it at 6y.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
So I have 6y equals 18. Right, 27 minus 9 is 18. I think we can agree that y equals 3, right? Divide both sides by 6. So my answer should be negative 1, positive 3. It doesn't matter which one you solve for first. They go in alphabetical order. X and then 1. Let me do one more example. Let's take a look at number 26. If I want to cancel the x's, I can make the top one a 4. If I want to cancel the y's, I can make the bottom one an 8. Let me multiply the top one by 2. By negative 2, actually. Because I want them to be different signs. So multiply everything by negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 4x plus 16y equals negative 4. Once again, I multiplied everything by negative 2 because I wanted the x's to be opposite from each other. So they go away. On the y's, negative 4, positive 16, that's 12y. And the negative 8, negative 4, that's negative 12. So y is negative 1, right? Divide both sides by 12, y is negative 1. Now for the value of x, plug in your y value into any of the equations. Once again, I look at the one with smaller numbers, which in this case is the first one. So I'm going to use the first one. 2x, I don't know the value of x, so I'm going to call it 2x. Then I have negative 8y. Negative 8 and a negative 1, that gives me positive 8. And this is equal to 2. Now my plus 8, let me move it to the right as a negative 8. So I have 2x equals negative 6. So x must be negative 3. My answer should be negative 3, negative 1. I figured you guys wanted to see at the end of the review. If I had shown you guys this on Monday, more than half of you guys would have forgotten it already. So make sure you guys review this over the weekend. There's gonna be about 49 of these on the test. Just kidding. Um, there's only 6. There's only 6 of these on Tuesday. Yeah. So guys,
They're easy now, but back then they were.
they were held back then. Yeah. But today, Monica, any number. You just want them to one letter to cancel out. So guys, do me a favor. Finish this worksheets over the weekend. You guys have 3 days, the weekend. Bring them back on Tuesday. Also, bring your notebooks on Tuesday. I know Unit 10 and Unit 12 we didn't take any notes, but we took notes on Unit 11. Get your notes by Tuesday. Also, I don't want to collect your notes yet because I know you guys have your little note card. Some of you guys might be working with. Your formulas are in your notes, so I don't want your notebooks yet. I'm hoping, big hope, I'm hoping that over the weekend you guys take a look at it. That's why I didn't collect the worksheets yet. Bring them on Tuesday. Bring your notebook on Tuesday. And we review our last review of everything. We're going to look at all of our worksheets on Tuesday. And then we start testing on Wednesday. Now, any questions? Let me take roll really quick.